Hello, hi, welcome back guys. I'm not prepared. I hope you're all doing well. Ignore the hair, just want to point that out straight away. It's wet, it's not greasy, I've just had a shower. But you don't want to see me with my hair down when it's wet because I look like 1999 Chad Kroger. We're going to do a monthly recap video of what I've read in January. And I've put this video on hold for so long. I did originally try and read more. Spoiler alert, recently, as of recording this right now, very recently I went on a book haul on a Friday and I brought 5 books. I brought these on Friday. I'm not going to go into them now. Make it all pretty, shall we? I don't know if you can tell, I've run out of book space. I've got my bookshelf in the kitchen, but that's also run out of space. And I'm moving house, if I haven't already told you, but I've also had the confirmation today that the searches and everything have come back great. Should I just do the rest of the video like that? Look at it. Look.
Disgusting!
Disgusting! Can you imagine if I just did the rest of the video like that? That would just be so embarrassing. I think people, like, if that was the first impression of me, like seeing how I look like just then, they would never ever want to come back to my channel. Sorry, we're kind of going for a bit of a weird intro. I went on the book haul on Friday. I went to the Hype bookstore. The day after that, literally the very day after that, not going to tell you where I went because it is fairly local. 21 Pilots reference. I spent £140. I just want to point out these books that I brought behind me, obviously Hype bookstore. I think I only spent about, I think it was just under £18-19. They're all new, but obviously they average about £3, £4 each. All these books, apart from about 5 that I brought on the Saturday, was all brand new. Spoiler alert, there is going to be a massive book haul video coming very soon where I go through every single book that I brought. I'm currently reading this. This is, excuse you, there we go. This is Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. I started reading this yesterday. I wanted to get this read so I could incorporate it into this video, but it's like literally very end of January, so I haven't got time. But the thing that put everything on hold was this. So this is Will Grayson by John Green and David Luthien. This was intended to be in this video, and as you can see, I haven't got, like, that's the front, like, I haven't got very far. I think it was like 100, yeah. I'm just under, I think it's 308 pages, I'm on 100. So I'm just under a third way through, but I really don't like this book. And I said to my friend the other day, I'm not the kind of person that can DNF a book, but because of that, I force myself to read a book, or I read something that I just don't want to read, so it puts me in a book slump. So I said to my friend the other day, I'm not going to be a DNFer, but I'm going to be like a put a book down, leave it, and then on the condition that I come back to it and finish it. The loophole is there is no time frame, so it could be 6 months, it could be 6 days, it could be 6 weeks, it could be 60 years. Well, I'll be unalived in 60 years, but still. We've got a total of 4 books, and technically 3 on a loophole, because first book, the very first day of 2025, I finished this monstrosity. I'll try and link it in the thing up here. Click on the thing up here. I read A Little Life, so you guys don't have to. I'm not counting this towards my well, I am. Obviously it does count. My Goodreads counted it because it's annoying because I started this in like November. It was either 17th or 19th, I can't remember. It took so long because it was that graphic and that horrible. I had to keep taking breaks basically. Although I finished this year, I think I only read like 30 pages and it's a 720 page book, so it doesn't feel right to count it towards this year, but hey ho, it was. So I'm not going to go into detail about this. Obviously I've already got its own separate video for it, but I have not rated this. I will not rate this. I'm not going to go into why. I don't like this book. I love this book and I hate it at the same time. It's dangerous, and before I read this, I did want to read other books by Hanya, and now I don't, so that's what I'm going to say on that. But then if you stay tuned towards the end of the video, I will tell you the ratings that I gave each book. There's only obviously 3 more, so this won't be a super long video. This is the year that I don't add unnecessary pressure onto myself. I'm going to go backwards. I just want to point this out now. I don't think I've mentioned this actually on YouTube. I've mentioned it everywhere but YouTube. Every single month I'm going to try, fingers crossed, and have a video out for every book that I've read through that month. Because I only came up with this idea halfway through January, I've had to kind of rush by making this video all in one go. Whereas the future videos, like so for February, like for the books that I read in February, when the video comes out in March, ideally I'm gonna record each book as I go along. So the video will be in order of what I've read, whereas this month, like I said, because obviously I've only just thought, well, I literally only just thought of it, but because of how I'm doing it, I'm going to do the books backwards, because we started off on a really good book and it got worse. It literally went downhill to the point where I stopped reading, obviously Will Grayson. So instead of ending this video on like a negative, I want to start off with the negatives and progressively get better. It's going to be back to front in order of read, but kind of worst to best in a sense. If we just don't count A Little Life, this will technically be the third book. The third book that I read this month is The Good Sisters by Helen Pfeiffer. I had notes, guys. I literally wrote notes specifically for this video, but then I found that I kept checking, so I don't like this book. Good for the author, she made a book. I think she needs a bit more practice, basically. This is set in two different time zones. Obviously, it's present day, and then it's set in 1933 as well. So I think this is supposed to be, well, it is. It says at the top, be afraid of the dark. It's supposed to be a horror. It kind of is a horror. I forgot to mention this whole video will not contain spoilers. Apart from obviously what's written on the outside of the book, so I'm not going to tell you anything about what happens in the book. I had bad expectations because I've read a book by Michelle Paver called Thin Air, A Ghost Story. When I started this, I was thinking of this book. I had expectations of this being what this was, and it was far from it. And it's my own fault because I went in with specific expectations, and now from that experience, I'm just going to go into a book blind because I don't want to I don't want to try and compare it to another book. But no, this was like immature in a sense of its writing style. The main character, just to give you a little gist of it, as you can see, the huge house on the front, it was originally in 1933 like a convent, would you say? I'll just kind of give you a general consensus of what it says on the back. 1933, Mother Superior Agnes offers sanctuary to a desperate woman fleeing for her life. Waking the next morning, she discovers that the terrible fate has befallen one of the sisters in a room locked from the inside. So when I first read that, I was like, oh, ghosts, like mystery, horror in a sense. And then you go down to the next bit where it says present day. Kate Parker, which is the main character, divorced, alcoholic and broke, moves into a dilapidated convent, hoping for a fresh start. Although the locals refuse to go near that place, Kate is determined to stay. But when she hears strange noises at night and crucifixes that she had removed appear on the walls, Kate begins to suspect she is not alone in a new home. A disturbing new novel from the best-selling author of The Ghost House. So I went in with high expectations, thinking this would be like really creepy. I really dislike the main character, Kate. It's almost as if she could never be in the wrong. Like everything that happened, it was like almost as if she's got like woe is me kind of complex of like, I can't do anything wrong. Everything bad that's happened to me has not been through my own making. It's been like other people's fault in a sense. So I get that she was having a rough time because obviously the alcohol, she'd got obviously a friend. Did that say that on the back? I'm not going to mention that because it's a spoiler. Divorced, she's got children. The whole idea of buying this massive huge house is to convert it and make it into a B&B so then she can get custody of her children back. It just kind of fell flat. The writing style, like I said, the wording, it was just very kind of boring. I got bored so much. Apart from the past, this wasn't a case of like it would tell you about the past from present day, like describing, like you wasn't kind of sat in the present day and it would like tell you about the past. It would kind of like submerge you in the past as if it was like talking from that time. So that was the only part that I enjoyed about this book. There was another bit, I think it was page 238. I am vegetarian. I don't go around telling everybody that all the time. Sexuality, religion, all that kind of stuff. You do you. I read it and straight away I was like, this is definitely not getting any more than a 3-star. I'm going to read it out to you. You're so funny, Autumn. Honestly, who are you following on Instagram now? Some model who thinks eating meat is animal cruelty, which obviously it is because you can't eat a living animal, can you? And then it says, or are you just being a goon? So as I read that, I was like, absolutely not. So this was the worst book that I read in January. That was that. And then going backwards, so the second book that I read, I'm going to hide part of the title because I'm trying to be PG on YouTube now. You're Not Supposed to Unalive Tonight by Kaylin Bayron. I enjoyed this book. I mean, it's like I said, it's the middle. It's not like it hasn't got the best score, but it hasn't got the worst score. I imagine that, again, it was the whole expectations thing, which I've now obviously learned not to go in with any kind of expectation. But I went in with the expectations that this was kind of a grown-up R.L. Stine Goosebumps book. This was recommended by a friend as well. This is supposed to be a horror, and it's more of like a horror thriller in a sense. Charity Curtis has the summer job of her dreams, playing the final girl at Camp Mirror Lake. Guests are paid to be scared in this full contact terror game, as Charity and her summer crew recreate scenes from a classic slasher film, The Curse of Camp Mirror Lake. The more realistic the fear, the better for business. But on the last weekend of the season, Charity's co-workers begin disappearing, and when one ends up unalived, Charity's role as the final girl suddenly becomes all too real. There's a bit more, but I'm not going to go into it. So again, like I said, I was expecting this to be a grown-up Goosebumps book. It was in a sense, but my expectations was, obviously by the premise of what I've just said, the whole kind of premise of the book is it's kind of like an escape room. Charity's basically people are paying for the experience of like surviving in a camp nightmare kind of situation. It was all going great till about halfway through. I gave this a point because the ending was absolutely nothing like I could not in a million years imagine how this book ended the way that it did. Again, I'll tell you, okay, so this is a spoiler in the sense that it doesn't happen. So my theory was the twist was going to be they was in purgatory or something, or limbo, and there was basically, it was like Groundhog Day, and it was basically, because obviously at summer it's like day after, like one day you've got a scare, and then that's like you move on to the next day and there's another scare. It's like another group of people in a sense. So I thought they could be in purgatory and they could just be constantly looping like scare after scare after scare after day after day. That wasn't the case, but the thing that let this book down was the sense of, it's almost as if she had like, the book was going like this way, and then it kind of slightly started going that way, and then halfway through it just kind of went like that way. There was no connection from part A to, like, say first half is part A and second half is part B. There was no connection between the two. It's almost as if it was two different ideas, two different kind of book ideas that the author kind of tried to merge into one book, but she had the concept of part A and then the concept of part B, but she didn't mesh them together right. So it kind of, that's why it kind of veered so jaggedly. I still enjoyed it. Again, like I said, this is the second highest rated. This was interesting. Obviously, I wouldn't read any more by this author. I would potentially, I'd be interested to see if the other books by it, because if you look on the back, it's got like a few like other books. Cinderella is Unalive, Poison Heart, and The Wicked Fate. I would be interested to read them to see if the writing style is exactly the kind of same, like the kind of thought process of how the book is written, like as if there's like a massive kind of twist and change in the middle that kind of works or doesn't work. I'm interested. So basically, I would read more books from this author. It's nice and short as well. There was only 228 pages, so if you can read that in one sitting or two, it's a nice quick book to read, whereas obviously this is definitely not a quick book to read. At the end, I've just had the idea that I might try and give you some suggestions to what I've read before. I don't think I've got anything like this, but I'll try and show you all kind of a comparison of what, if you kind of read this book, you might like this as a book in a sense. So we'll get to that, like look forward to that at the end. Last but not least, The Humans by Matt Haig. This is my favourite of this month, and I think it was mainly my favourite in the sense of I needed this book. So obviously we're going to talk about A Little Life again, obviously. Imagine inside your chest a black hole, and this is the black hole, whereas this is everything that you... I was going to say something disgusting and I don't realize. This is what you kind of patch, this is the plaster. I was going to, instead of saying what you fill the with, this is the plaster that you put on top of it. It doesn't always fix it, but it helps. I think it's a sci-fi. So reading the back, after an incident one wet Friday night where he was found walking naked through the streets of Cambridge, Professor Andrew Martin is not feeling quite himself. Food sickens him, clothes confound him. Even his loving wife and teenage son are repulsed start this again. Even his loving wife and teenage son are repulsive to him. He feels lost amongst the alien species and hates everyone on the planet. Everyone, that is, except Newton, and he's a dog. Who is he really, and what could make someone change their mind about the human race? So, I just want to point out, I picked this up from High Peak Bookstore. It was £3.99. I don't take the price tags off the back, obviously. £3.99. Brought this only because my friend gave me this. This was, if you've read my Books of 2024 video, this was one of my favourite books of 2024. I gave Matt a chance, and I'm glad that I did, because obviously I didn't even look at this book first. I literally just saw the name and thought, I want it. So I brought it. I don't know how to describe this book. It's kind of like it's obviously sci-fi. I didn't know what to expect when I read this. It's like a mirror, a reflection on humanity from an alien point of view, which is obviously literally what this is all about. There's so much funny bits in it, actually, to be honest. Like, I think that's why I really enjoyed it compared to, like, after reading A Little Life. But let's do the reviews, shall we? So this, a 2 out of 5. I gave it a 2 out of 5 because, like I mentioned, I enjoyed the past part. I enjoyed the bit in 1933. If this whole book could have just been the story from the 1933 perspective, I'd have enjoyed this book much more. Like, if Kate didn't exist and the present day bit wasn't in it, then it could have got a 5. This is the only book so far that I've ever given a 1 out of 5. It deserves like maybe a 3 or something, because it isn't actually that bad in writing style or kind of, yeah, the story's disgusting, it's graphic as hell. So I gave this a 2-star because I didn't want to tie it with brainworms. Then You're Not Supposed to Unalive Tonight. This got a 3.5 out of 5. I gave it that because, like I said, I felt like I was a child reading Goosebumps again. If I read this as a kid, I would have found it scary. Like, I didn't actually find it, like, really scary. It was like, there was a few kind of, like, creepy moments here and there, but I gave it the extra half a mark, like I mentioned earlier, because the ending was something that I would have never imagined. I was just about to say maybe I'd give it a 4, but I'm not. Like, I think I mentioned this in the other takes, that I don't know if you've noticed, but last year, like, most of my books was like 4 or 5-star reviews. That's because I'm fairly new to reading within the last like year and a half, nearly 2 years. I want to be more careful with like how I rate things this year. I don't want to kind of go too heavy or easily on giving everything a 4 or a 5-star. And then, as I'm talking about 5 stars, a 5 out of 5. And this is probably going to be a very liberal 5 out of 5. Like I said, sci-fi, I love sci-fi. Funny, there was funny moments, I needed it. And just the whole concept of, like, it's thought-provoking. Very quickly, if you read The Humans by Matt Haig, then I really think you'll like Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It's not exactly the same kind of style. Not exactly the same, like, this is more sci-fi. This is more kind of like magic. I do want to point out now, I think Matt Haig, I might be wrong, so I can correct myself in the future in the December, but I think Matt Haig might be one of my favourite authors of 2025 at this point. Forgot to mention as well, this is kind of like aimed at anybody and everybody. This should be aimed at nobody because it's that bad. This is kind of aimed at everybody and anybody. This is more of like a young adult. This is very much a young adult. I'm going to recommend Slightly Paint Damaged after I spray painted my bookcase. All That's Left in the World by Eric J. Brown. It's a complete different, this is a very much young adult. And this is kind of like full-on horror, kind of like you're in a camp at night time in the dark and it's spooky and scary. All That's Left in the World is more kind of sense of imagine 2020, but it's not that kind of thing. It's like a super flu. Imagine like a zombie apocalypse without the zombies. I'd say this is slightly more mature than this. Last but not least, I don't have really anything for this. What Kind of Mother by Clay McLeod Chapman. I read this was in my Books of 2024 video. I read this, I completely forgot that it was a horror book until about 3/4 way through, but it was weird. I think this is the kind of book that I might like enjoy if I reread, because I've only read this once, and I was confused at the ending. I didn't know if the main character was with us anymore or if there wasn't, and because I was just confused. Like, there were so many different things, like weird things that was happening. Little spoiler, Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Laurie Gilmore. This is spicy. It says, literally even says on the back. I haven't read the first one yet. I've got the first one on my phone. We've got Welcome to the Hayanam Dong Bookshop by Huang Bu Room. I really can't pronounce. I'm bad at names. We all know that I'm bad at names. The Convenience Store by the Sea by Sonoko Mashida. If you watched my video of all the books that I read in 2024, you would have seen that this would have been one of my favourite books of 2024. I didn't own this book until a few days ago. My friend, it was borrowed to me to make the Halloween video. I loved it that much. I saw it, it was brand new, and the whole purpose of this book is to be displayed. Basically, I'll probably reread it again a few times at some point, but when I move, like, I had some news today as well that all we are waiting on now is the sale, like everything, all the solicitors, all the kind of that kind of stuff been done. Final thing is to make the payment and get the keys. So that's why all my books are kind of like displayed like this, because again, I have no book space. I've got no bookshelf space, and I refuse to go out and buy another bookcase when I'm going to be moving in the next couple of months. But I'm going to have this on display. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to put it there. Why not? We'll put it up here. Hit that subscribe button. I'm going to keep doing book content for now. I will see you all very soon. Bye!